Hey, this is Scott. So welcome back to my YouTube channel where I cover a variety of different data science analytics topics, everything from open discussions, which we're going to have today, also do software demonstrations, open source, as well as commercial. So I like to keep these short. So let's just jump right into it. I'm going to share some snippets from our book that we have out. And so the goal of this book is data literacy and getting everyone to speak the same language. It is about separating the hype that you hear in the analytics and data science space from reality, and building upon trusted curated source, right? So the authors, we have 50 years combined experience with data and analytics, statistics, machine learning, and much more. And so we try to answer the questions that you'll be asking. And so one of the things that I've been trying to say is, you shouldn't practice medicine without knowing the entire body. And so this data literacy is what we're about. So I want to jump into a couple things in the book. This is a part of a whole series. This is number 5 on just some snippets that you'll find in the book, and hopefully this will be meaningful. So one of the things that we tried to do is identify certain gaps in the analytics space. And so I want to talk about, just highlight 4 of those here. The lack of adaptability, the isolation and disconnects, and alignment within the analytics framework and the organization itself, right? It's very important to get the organization aligned behind the different projects, get everyone kind of moving in the same direction. Obviously, gaps in education or knowledge really hampers the organization as well. And then we're all humans, right? So motivation and incentives, trying to get those things aligned as well. So let's just go through a couple of snippets that we've heard. So our leadership is in the Stone Ages. Everyone's been talking about being data-driven for years, yet we operate by the seat of our pants. Leadership thinks having been in this industry for 30 years gives us an advantage, and maybe it does in some respects. However, there are many examples where companies with great histories died quickly. We need to quit talking about being data-driven, as we're barely scratching the surface, and instead dive deeply into analytics and AI. Obviously, this is it's multiple fronts. It is misalignment, right, between leadership and whoever wrote this, the middle management or even staff. And it certainly is the lack of adaptability by organizational leaders to become data-driven and what that takes. And certainly part of determining what that takes is the education itself. So gaps in what being data-driven even really means. Here's another one on leadership getting sold into AI. And this happens a lot. Leaders will go to a conference, they'll hear rah, rah, rah. They'll think something is really great, and they'll try to bring it back without sufficient knowledge. They come back, they don't really align with the organization. They have some vendor come in and try to push some program through the organization. And then they get stuck with a contract. And so that doesn't really work well. And obviously people get frustrated, they leave, and then you lose a lot of the internal knowledge of the organization itself. So, some of the and poor decisions at that, right, by the leadership team, not really coming back from the conference and trying to get feedback before they make swooping changes and bringing in change programs. And so you have that. And then, there are no incentives to work more intelligently. There are no metrics to tie my performance to what the company does. And so I don't really know how my job affects the performance or the numbers that even the board's interested in. So this is organizational accountability. It is the lack of KPIs, key performance indicators, or OKRs, and objectives and key results. So and really, we are humans. We respond to incentives. So that leaves people getting frustrated. And I think this is the last one I have. So our CIO, as you know, consultants, and they're coming in and they're pushing some innovative stuff, and it all sounds great. And but the business doesn't really understand it. They don't really get it. So you know, you have steering committees, the whole shebang, but it's really the lack of clear objectives that you have here. So I guess what I'm saying here is you can't just jump in. You've got to make sure that everything is well laid out, well thought out, how it's going to affect the organization, getting everyone on board and educating people on what the change is going to look like within the organization itself. Actually, I guess this is the last one. So we tried several different data-driven initiatives over the decade. Each time we've had limited success. Everyone gets on board excited, but after 6 months or a year, we hear the same thing. The result stinks because our data stinks. So this is more of a technical problem. And so the bottom line is, you know, bad data, gaps in education on how to remediate that data, or lack of knowledge, and could be even a lack of some technology. So anyway, hopefully this was meaningful, and I try to make these really short. I'm doing a lot of them, and again, they kind of parallel some pieces in the book, but I hope you'll consider getting the book for yourself as well. So we'll see you next time.